Welcome to the Credit Concept Podcast. I am your host, Credit Coach Nicole Scott, and in today's episode, we are going to be talking about none other than student loans. Let's go. Now, when it comes to student loans, there's two types of people out there. There are people that say, sure, we can get your student loans deleted from your credit report, no problem. And then there's those that I call the ones that are real. People like me who say, sure, there's a possibility that we can get your student loans removed from your credit report. However, what that means is simply those student loans are not on your credit report. And in today's episode, we're going to be covering quite a few topics when it comes to student loans, the outlook that you should have on student loans, the good, the bad, and so much more. So make sure to stay tuned until the end of this podcast. And if you guys have not already, make sure that you have followed me on YouTube at Credit Coach Nicole Scott, on Instagram at Credit Coach Nicole Scott. I am back on Facebook, so you can follow me at Nicole Scott on Facebook or Credit Coach Pros on Facebook. TikTok, Credit Coach Nicole. So I'll leave all the links below for us to connect more. There's a ton of information in the description on how you can obtain some of my one-on-one coaching sessions, my website, some of the free items that we offer. So there are a ton of free goodies. Check out the links in the description below to learn more. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So now I am not a lawyer, nor do I give legal advice, but what I do is give practical, realistic advice based on experience. And, the future of student loans is really to be determined at this point because of all of the things going on in Congress, so on and so forth. So do we know what's going to happen indefinitely with the student loans? Of course not. Nobody ever knows what's going to happen in the future. However, here are some good, rules to kind of abide by when it comes to student loans, how to get them forgiven, and how to go about dealing with them when they are affecting your credit. So student loan debt is not necessarily considered to be a bad debt. Student loans can really help your credit as long as the payment history has 100% payment history. If you are in default for any reason, what we need to do first is we need to get your loans out of default. We need to turn the negative into a positive. How do we do that? It is very simple. Oftentimes, if you are in collections with your student loans, it is going to be a third-party collection company, and you're going to need to call them, and you're going to need to make arrangements to get back into good standing. And what that would mean is that you're going to have to make a minimum of, generally, it is a minimum of 9 on-time payments to the collection agency before they will transfer your account back to the loan servicer, okay? And the loan servicer could be NailNet, it could be a number of different places. Obviously, they will let you know where they are transferring your account to, but you are going to need to continue to make your on-time payments to them. And what you need to do is apply for what's called an income-based repayment plan. And the income-based repayment plan is going to be based on your income minus, your expenses. And, you'll have to probably fill out a worksheet that lets them know what your income is, and you put in all of your expenses, including every little thing and more. Daycare, car, housing expenses, groceries, gas, everything, okay? And at the end of the month, what's left over? Well, obviously the goal is to have about $25 left over so you can pay these people an on-time payment of around, $25, $100, something affordable for you, something reasonable that you're going to be able to pay every single month on time. Because what we want to do is we want to get our student loans into good standing. I don't care if you are trying to get them off of your credit report or not. You need to understand the concept behind student loans and how they can affect you long term if you don't deal with the problem, okay? And to be honest, I have a lot of clients that have a tremendous amount of debt, student loan debt, and I have one client, he has over $100,000 in student loan debt. And, we were able to do a lot of things, and basically what he is going to have to do is just pay the minimum payment until we can apply for forgiveness. forgiveness, because at the end of the day, typically if staying in good standing is always going to be, the top priority, staying in good standing with any creditor. But when it comes to student loans, when you go and apply for any sort of loan forgiveness program, typically in the past, your account would have had to been in good standing in order for you to apply. And there are a ton of different programs out there when it comes to the student loans and applying for forgiveness. It can be dependent upon what field you are in. So there are a number of different things out there, and I'm sure as time progresses, there's going to be a number of plans that are added to the student loan forgiveness. But you want to make sure that you're applying for the, payment plan that's income driven. So the income driven repayment plan. And typically you would have to apply for this plan every 12 months, because what you're doing is being responsible and you're taking accountability and you're showing that you are, credit worthy. And that's what it all boils down to, because if your student loans are derogatory, it just makes your credit look really bad, because your student loans are typically your oldest trade lines that are on your credit report. Typically, they are, one of the first credit accounts that you would have opened. So they have a long history. So a lot of times when people think, oh, I'm just going to get my student loans deleted, they're deleting all of this history. So, that's a good thing. You do not want to take away from your credit file, especially if it has 100% on-time payment history. But if it is affecting you, like I said, rehabilitate the student loan by calling the collection company. You can even call the servicer and get help from them. But the bottom line is you need to figure out who you need to talk to get your student loan back into good standing. And again, you can apply for the income-driven repayment plan, where you can pay a small monthly fee and, just pay that small monthly fee for the rest of your life, because there will be forgiveness programs at some point. But until that happens, you need to stay in good standing, because one of the stipulations for, like I said, a lot of these forgiveness programs is, hey, if you're going to apply for forgiveness, you have to be in good standing. Nobody wants to deal with anyone who is not responsible, is not doing what they're supposed to do. It's not that hard to stay on top of your student loans, okay? It's not fun. Nobody wants to do it. It's a headache to deal with. We probably have to make multiple phone calls, but at the end of the day, it's what's needed in order for us to progress. And let's kind of dig in a little deeper to that. Say for example, you get your student loans deleted from your credit report. That just means that your student loans are no longer reported on your credit report. But keep in mind, many student loans are from the government and they don't just go away. It doesn't mean that you don't owe the debt. It doesn't mean that it's just going to go away. It's not. It just means that it's not on your credit report, okay? And if you are saying, hey, look, I am disputing this student loan because the school shut down, well, that's a different story, right? If the school shut down and you were not able to graduate, or you were not able to fulfill the education that you paid for because the school closed, what you need to do is call the Department of Education, or you can go to their website, and you need to get the bad school application. And it is literally a application that you will need to fill out and submit to express that the school has shut down, and provide any supporting documentation. That can be, a letter from the school, or anything that you can find online to prove that this school closed down. They will process your application. But again, you need to stay in good standing until that happens. So a lot of schools were considered to be bad schools. And no, you should not have to pay for education that you didn't receive from a bad school that actually closed down. But again, you do have to take responsibility, and you have to put in the work to apply put in your application for the bad school application and just let the Department of Education know, hey, if you can't find the application, I need to fill out the application to apply for loan forgiveness and to get my loan forgiven because the school was closed and I was not able to fulfill my education. And they will, like I said, they will process your application. It does take a while. It can take up to a year for them to process it. So you have to be patient. Nothing about this is going to be fast, okay? But that's another thing that you can do. But say, for example, you went to school, all of the loans are valid, you validated the debt, and they're still reporting on your credit report, and everything just needs to be updated because of the fact that maybe you haven't dealt with it in a while, which, you know, like I said, nobody wants to deal with this kind of stuff. It's like a lot of people just put their head in the sand and say, you know, it's not that important because it's not affecting me right now, or, you know, I don't need to use my credit right now. But that's the wrong way to look at it, because we need to keep these accounts, especially the student loans, because like I said, they have history. They're not going to go away. So we need to deal with it. And, you know, if you decide to ignore your student loans, say you're like, oh, well, they're not on my credit report, so I don't owe the debt, right? The government will take your taxes. They will garnish your wages. They will do things to come after you for the alleged said debt until you deal with the problem. And a lot of people don't realize how easy it is to deal with it. Even if you're paying a small monthly fee of like $25, or a monthly payment, I should say. Even if you're paying a small monthly payment towards the balance of your loan, you're still going to be in good standing. So it's like, we can do that. We just need to stay in good standing. So that way, obviously, it's going to help your credit. You're making monthly on-time payments, and they are going to report that you're making a monthly on-time payment. Now, right now, a lot of these student loans are still in forbearance, but, you know, keep in mind, there are private loans out there as well. So you really need to understand if you have private student loans or if you have federal student loans, okay? And the bottom line is you need to make sure that you're on top of it, because the last thing that you want to do is get a late payment on your credit report from your student loans, okay? Because it's just unnecessary, and they will not report a late payment on your student loan accounts until you are over 90 days late. So they will try to rectify it with you before they actually report that late payment. And obviously, you know, sometimes addresses change. They don't have, you know, the correct contact information for you. So you want to make sure that you're on top of it. Get a copy of your credit report. If you don't know what's going on with your student loans, call the loan service provider, call the Department of Education, stay on top of it, and get the information so you can get your student loans into good standing. So that way, when and if it's time for you to apply for forgiveness, you're going to be ready and you ain't got to get ready. Okay. That's the type of mentality we need to have. We want to stay ready so we don't have to get ready. No, I don't need my credit right now. But if you have dreams of being a homeowner, purchasing more property, buying money-making assets, credit is a great way to leverage buying these things without having to use your own cash. So eventually you will need your credit for something, okay? Job, insurance, you name it. People are pulling credit these days. And something as simple as student loans could literally ruin your credit. And the debt isn't necessarily considered to be a bad debt. There's a lot of lenders out there that, you know, can look past student loans as far as, you know, being a huge debt that you owe. You're still going to get an opportunity to be a homeowner when you have student loan debt. Yes, it does affect your debt to income ratio, but when you are on a plan where you're only paying, you know, 25 or X amount of dollars per month, you can express that to the underwriting department in the at the loan company and let them know it's not a huge expense for me every month. So there's a lot of ways that, you know, we can go about talking about disputing the student loans. But at the end of the day, you know, is that the right thing to do? And my short answer is no, because simply disputing the student loans on your credit report could make them be deleted from your credit report. However, you know, is that really what you need? And I'm gonna be honest with you, just like I am with anybody. I don't recommend trying to get your student loans deleted from your credit report. We can use that trade line because it's got good history. It probably has some good payment history. And even if you do have some late payments, you can contact the servicer and let them know that there was in fact a billing error, and you can challenge the billing error with your loan provider and try to get that corrected. You can provide them with what's called a goodwill adjustment letter. You can call them and see, you know, if you can speak to someone in regards to the billing, because it is an error, so we can get that corrected. And again, they are not going to report a late payment for student loans until you're over 90 days past due. And that's why a lot of times when you're looking at your credit report, it'll go from okay to like 90 days late or 120 days late, right? And you're like, well, I was never 30 days late. I was never 60 days late. So how am I 90 days late, or how am I 120 days late? Well, the answer is they don't report it because they really want to work with you. They're not trying to sabotage you like a lot of these other collection agencies and creditors out there. They actually want to help you. And there's a lot of programs that they have available to people. You literally just have to see what's available to you. But in the meantime, get into good standing. Make sure that your student loans are in a positive standing. And like I said, a lot of people right now, yeah, they're all in forbearance. So they're still reporting as an on-time payment every month, or maybe they're not reporting at all. But things are changing. We want to make sure that we're staying on top of our responsibilities. We're staying on top of, you know, the accounts that we have that do report to our credit, and we're getting them into good standing. Because I know a lot of people talk about, oh, well, don't pay collections, don't pay this, don't pay that. I mean, if it's really affecting you, why would you, you know, not pay it? If you know the debt belongs to you and it is valid, you're like, oh yeah, I know what that's for, and it's holding you back, why not just pay it? Don't be stubborn. You know, don't listen to everyone out there, because each situation is different. Obviously, you know, a lot of people use the law to get items removed off their credit report, but what you have to understand is the credit reporting agencies do not have anything to do with the government trying to come after you, and, you know, they take your taxes and garnish your wages for the alleged said debt that you owe them. The credit reporting agencies are literally just a data company, and they're just, you know, they could care less. They are for profit, and honestly, we are not their customer. The customer is, you know, banks and institutions that regularly pull credit from them so they can make money. We actually cost them money because consumers are constantly suing the credit bureaus. They have to, you know, process our disputes, and honestly, it's, you know, kind of a headache for them. And you know, that's the name of the game, though. Credit is really just a game, and once you understand the concept behind credit, you can better gauge what's going to be the best situation for you. And like I always tell everyone, you want to prove it or remove it. Okay, if they can't prove it, they have to remove it. Now, if you know the debt is valid and you just are like, whatever, I don't want to fight it, I just want to get it over with, you can try to settle the debt in exchange for them removing the derogatory mark from your credit report. That's an option. But the bottom line is, we just want to get everything that is affecting us in a negative manner into a positive. Okay, turn the negative into a positive. Start building positive credit. Make sure you guys are paying your bills on time. If you have a credit obligation that reports to your credit, make sure that you are paying it on time, because those late payments, that's the number one reason why people don't achieve a 700 credit score and get really bad interest rates and get denied for things, because nobody wants to allow or extend credit to someone who may not pay their bills on time. So it's super important to just get into good standing. As much as we may or may not agree with it, get in good standing, and we can try to fight it later with, you know, when it comes to student loans. Because because we just have to turn these into a positive, because it can take a while for us to rehabilitate our student loans. And that's just, the truth of it. And again, things are always changing, and who knows what's to come here in the next couple years. But I just want you guys to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Be ready so you won't be left behind. And last but not least, before we end today's episode about student loans, you can always challenge account information based on the inaccuracies that are being reported to the credit reporting agencies. So if you do feel like the information that is reported to the credit bureaus is inaccurate or not, it doesn't belong to you, or whatever the case is, where you're like, oh no, that's absolutely not right, then you most certainly want to dispute the account with the credit bureau. And you can, take the same concept behind this and use it for the student loans or whatever else is on your credit report. But if you are disputing your student loans, you want to dispute them with all three credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. But you also want to dispute it directly with the person or the company, not necessarily the person, but the company creditor that is reporting it to the credit bureau. So if, Nelnet is reporting the student loans to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, you would dispute it directly with them. Now, the great thing is if you get a copy of your credit reports using Smart Credit, and I'll leave the link below so you can get a copy of your credit report so you can see the information on there. All of the creditor information is listed at the very bottom of your credit report. So you'll have their address right there for you to be able to send a dispute letter directly to them. I don't recommend calling the credit bureaus. It's easier to just write them a letter. When it comes to student loans, you can call them, but you also want to put it in writing. But there might be a fax number or a faster way to get it over to them, so you can actually call them and ask them what the fastest way you can submit, whether they have a fax number or if the mail, or if you can upload it through their online portal. But just ask them the fastest way that you can submit your documentation, whether that's, documentation that you're disputing it, your bad loan application. You want to get these documents that are going to be necessary and required by the student loan creditor, so that way you will have the best odds of getting whatever it is corrected. And if you're challenging the entire contract, then send as much proof that you can possibly get. Okay, whatever proof you have, they're going to need to see that in order to, update it on your credit report, remove it from your credit report, whatever the case is. And of course, you can always challenge contracts, but like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I don't give legal advice. So the best thing that you can do when it comes to student loans is, if it is valid, it's a valid debt, you've already validated the debt with the creditor or with the service provider, and this is your debt, and you went to school with it, and you got your degree, get it into good standing. Okay, if you never finish school, get that bad school application in so you can get your loans forgiven because you were never able to graduate. So take action. You are the only one that's going to be able to get all of this done. If you want someone to do it for you, obviously I have a service where we can work together and I can help you get all of this done. I provide one-on-one coaching. We provide credit restoration and credit education. And I also have a few courses. I have our credit course, I have our business credit course, and we have a ton of free information in the descriptions below. So again, guys, I appreciate you tuning in today and listening to the entire episode. If you have not by now, make sure that you have followed me on YouTube and Instagram at Credit Coach Nicole Scott, and that you have shared this information with a friend. If you have found this information valuable and you can say, hey, I think this information can really help people, share it on your social media. You can listen to this podcast wherever podcasts are played. You can listen on Apple, Spotify, all of these good places, including YouTube. So make sure that you have subscribed to our YouTube channel and you leave us a comment and let us know what you found most valuable about this video. Again, guys, my name is Credit Coach Nicole Scott. Until next time, take care.